Okay, let's see what he wants to misrepresent next. Here he is talking about the Supreme Court.
Let's have a look now at the left media panicking about the Supreme Court. And
Notice again how he refers to the left media panicking about the Supreme Court. Never will criticise right-wing stuff.
But when an institution doesn't do what they want it to do, they really don't like it.
Right, and that's all that this has come down to, is just that the Supreme Court won't do what the left wing want them to do.
Learned that it was a 9-0 decision ruling that Donald Trump can be on the ballot in Colorado, and
unanimous decision. That's
the difference. The point behind this being that that if you've participated in an insurrection, then when you've already taken an oath of office and you violated that by taking part in an insurrection, then you shouldn't be allowed to hold office. It's been established in court that does apply to Donald Trump, and so that verdict should have applied to Donald Trump. He should be barred from being on the ballot.
It's like the judiciary doing what it ought to do. It ought to be objective, elections ought to be solved.
Yeah, really, it should be objective, but it isn't.
Electorally, oughtn't they? Democracy should mean the will of the people expressed through the ballot box, hopefully with a variety of options, a variety of diverse opinions, the ability to challenge these institutions. Isn't that what it should mean?
other states.
I'm not confident that will produce a result that's good for American democracy.
This is actually what I had been concerned about. I had been concerned that should it go to the Supreme Court, they would rule this way.
I'd laugh if it weren't so sad.
They're panicking, they're flapping, they're hysterical. Even my dogs.
I wouldn't say that they're hysterical. They're reporting. It's shocking the extent to which this person misrepresents what he watches, what he sees, what you can see with your own eyes.
Don't find the entire situation hysterical, but we demand democracy. We demand it now.
He is the only person who's being hysterical.
We demand that either these institutions are revered or they are attacked. You can't have it that when January 6th is subject to a little bit of protest.
We demand that either these institutions are either revered or attacked. Right. And so there can't be any level of nuance with what's going on. So that his idea is that if you can't hold the kind of insurrection that we saw on January 6th in Washington, then nobody's allowed to criticize the judgments of the Supreme Court. That's ridiculous.
It's hysterical. It's ridiculous. It's utilized to create yet more draconian measures. And when some judges, do their job.
Oh, they did their job, did they?
It's regarded as somehow anti-democratic. What do you think? Do you think that these institutions have been weaponized?
My next guest says Donald Trump is...
And when they're not successfully weaponized, they lament it.
...still an oath-breaking insurrectionist. Do you have confidence in the Supreme Court? Do you think this court is partisan? The court itself may have
When I see that Supreme Court, I think they're absolutely adorable bunch of lovely grandparents. It's like a grandparent graduation, isn't it? Have you ever seen it?
Oh, well, it's horrendous that he says this. Let's have a look at some of the scandals that the Supreme Court have been involved in. Oh, by the way, I still have the definition for insurrection there, the act or instance of open revolt against civil authority or a constituted government arising against civil or political authority or the established government, open and active opposition to the execution of law in a city or state, which is clearly what Donald Trump did on January 6th. But being as we're here already, then why don't we have a look and see what Justice Clarence Thomas has been up to. Clarence Thomas scandal. Clarence Thomas has been in the news a lot recently because he's been receiving payments from the people whose cases are in front of him in court. There's repeated ethical scandals from the conservative right-wing Justice Clarence Thomas. Here are the ethics scandals, and these have developed a lot since October the 26th, 2023. The Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas never repaid a substantial portion of a $267,000 $6,230 loan he received from a wealthy friend to pay off a luxury RV. All of these people are people who've had business in front of Clarence Thomas. He received holidays, he received purchases. He's basically a corrupt judge, and he's been bought off by the establishment. Okay, he's just one of the many conservative justices. The conservative justices that Donald Trump appointed to the Supreme Court include Brett Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh, he has his own scandals. His scandals being related to sexual mistreatment, I believe, getting girls drunk, and the things that he did to them in parties. There was a lot of evidence related to this, and you should listen to the testimony of the women who came forward. One in particular who testified in front of, I believe it was Senate, but it may have been Congress. I believe it was a Senate, about her experiences. This is a guy who was appointed to the Supreme Court by Donald Trump, one of 3 justices, including Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, who were all justices, I believe, recommended by the Federalist Society. Who Donald Trump appointed. They are a conservative group. And these are the people who have overturned women's reproductive rights in America and access to IVF in some states by rolling back of legislation. These aren't cute, friendly old grandparents. They are people, they are a massively out of balance right-wing court appointed using underhanded techniques such as those by Mitch McConnell, who blocked the appointment of Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court, opening up Trump to be able to appoint 3 justices himself. And all of whom were complicit in overturning Roe versus Wade, which was the court case that established women's access to reproductive health care in America, the overturning of which has seen women in car parks because doctors are afraid to treat them. These aren't people who are just cute grandparents. And the fact that Russell Brand skips over all of this and completely misrepresents the actions of the court and the reporting of the court, the fact that this court that has a massive conservative bias because of the practices that were employed to put them in place, Russell Brand misrepresents the concern about the fact that these Trump-appointed justices are enabling Trump to remain on a ballot where he should not be entitled to because he participated in an insurrection. Some people calmly on the news put that point forward, and he presents them as being hysterical and doesn't mention any of the context that justifies the criticism. This man is fundamentally incapable of being honest.